Hello there, everyone. Now, slight change of plan. I know earlier today I did tell you that I wouldn't be doing a live session today for GrowShow, but it turns out if I do it now, early, before my next virtual event starts, then we can get it done and we can have the same fun crack that we always have. So this is live, so you can comment, you can say hello in wherever you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, or Twitch, or even Periscope. So let me have your comments as we're going. As I said, this really is live. I had planned to put up a pre-recorded video today, but I'm going a little bit earlier with GrowShow just to make sure that we can get the fun and interactivity. So I hope you are all well. Hope you're having a good Wednesday. Remember to keep your comments coming throughout the show because I always pick one of the comments to get a free prize of some sort. You'll be able to get some cool free GrowShow swag. So anybody who leaves a comment, you will be chosen at random at the end of the episode to see who gets our free stuff. Remember to also share this on your feed. Let your friends and colleagues know that GrowShow is starting. And if you have missed any of the episodes, then just type the word recording in the box below and I will send you all of the episodes that you have missed. And we've looked at everything from the science of psychology, the psychology of sales, the science of leadership, how to motivate, engage, and inspire your people. So I am so excited to join you. This episode is brand new material. Welcome to GrowShow. If you haven't tuned into GrowShow before, it is the only live streaming show on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope that gives you proven, actionable tools and techniques that help you grow your business, grow your team, and grow yourself. My name is David Meade. I work with organizations all across the world on the real science of high performance. And we have to accept that the whole world has changed. We have hurtled into a pretty extraordinary recession, and frankly, we might be moments away from a depression. The mood across not just our country in the United Kingdom, but all of the countries within which I work is at its absolute lowest point. And even though in the United Kingdom, the government has done some great work to try and help organizations with furlough programs and grant schemes, we also have to remember that our Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, has said that he cannot save every business or every single job. So this is a really tough time for individuals and organizations, but some businesses are still managing to thrive in these challenging times. Now, why is that the case? And some of those businesses, we know the obvious ones, of course, Zoom has done incredibly well, hasn't it? Their growth means that their market capitalization makes them now bigger than the world's top 7 airlines. What an extraordinary number. And in a surprising turn of events, after the global pandemic set in, Tesla has done phenomenally well, partly because their factory, that region, has been basically unaffected by the impact of COVID-19. So they've managed to keep going while other automobile manufacturers have not been able to. If you worked in the glove manufacturing industry, you will have had a pretty incredible 6 months. And in fact, the owner of Top Glove became a virtual overnight billionaire when demands for his products absolutely skyrocketed. Of course, the obvious businesses that are doing well are those that operate in the cloud or streaming services. Since we are all stuck at home at the moment, we're looking for better experiences to fill our time, to entertain us and make our working life a little bit easier. $70 billion was added on to the value of Netflix. I don't know how many people are Netflixing, but they're certainly chilling while they're watching it. That now makes them, remember, this DVD company that used to send them out in the mail, bigger than Disney, HBO, NBC, and Universal. Just a few years ago, a performance level like that of Netflix would have been inconceivable. Spotify have done pretty well as well, but you'll notice that there is some inconsistency in Spotify's performance there. So in a global pandemic, they have not managed to bounce back or pivot perfectly, and in a few moments we will explore why. My favorite one of them all, though, is Peloton. If you're not familiar with Peloton, I got one of these back in January. I absolutely love it. It's essentially a spin bike with a TV screen on it. You can tune into live fitness classes, and some guy or gal from Cincinnati can shout at you and say, "Oh, David from Ulster is really slowing down," and that's how they pronounce Ulster. I do have one myself, and it's guys, I apologize. I appear to have accidentally put a photograph of myself in the slideshow. So this theme is all about separating the good from the great in challenging times. What is it that makes some organizations winners and some organizations losers in really difficult situations and scenarios. COVID-19 is upon us, and we have no idea where this is going. The truth is, there is no easy magic wand. There's no formula for us to follow. So instead, in this episode, I'm going to show you some organizations who have done incredibly well, some clever, innovative ideas that will help you think, act, and behave in slightly different ways. And hopefully, will give you a couple of tools that will help you engage and inspire your people to behave differently. But we are all about the comments, so let's have a couple of quick hellos. John is asking for the recording. Yep, John, we will make sure that we get it to you. I will leave you a comment when this comes. Carl, thank you for joining us as well. I'll make sure that you get the recordings. Howard is saying that the persuasion episode was spot on. Thanks, Howard. I hope you are using it. Don't just watch it. It's really important that you do apply and employ the content. Karen is saying she feels lucky today. It is good to see you, Karen. Thank you for joining us. Carl, lovely to have you here as well. And Robert is joining us on the feed. Great to have so many of you here. Now, I mentioned a little earlier that Spotify appears to be doing well, but they've had a bumpy ride through this global pandemic. Now, why is that the case? Now, we can see there that over the course of the last number of months, their growth has not been as meteoric as other streaming businesses. So what is happening behind the billions? Because it seems like it should have been a surefire winner. They rely on ad-funded users. That is most of their income. So most users to Spotify are not paying for the subscription service. Instead, they're listening to an ad every 4 to 7 songs, and that is what funds the revenue model. That is what pays the artists. That's how Spotify are growing and surviving. But of course, when more users always means more revenue if you have an ad-funded model. But when the pandemic went up, ad spend for clients went down. Businesses were spending less on marketing because they were unsure about what growth and performance might look like over the course of the next few months. And that is what created that challenging time for Spotify. But they did pivot, they did flex, they did work with agility, and they decided to behave in a different way. They've started to invest incredibly heavily now in original content, podcasters and thought leadership and audiobooks that simply cannot be got anywhere else. And that has really helped separate themselves and build a new audience who are willing to pay that subscription fee. Even celebrity curation, where your favorite song, I don't know, one of the Kardashians, clearly I'm a big fan of the Kardashians, #Dash, where they come in and put their favorite playlist in, and you get to enjoy the music that apparently they're enjoying while they're sitting on their Peloton. Now, what they're essentially doing, Spotify is stopping, or at least not stopping, they're diversifying from the streaming business. Instead of just being a platform, they're now creating content because they realize Netflix, Disney, Hulu, and all of those other streaming channels are the ones that are winning because they get that constant subscription revenue coming through while they're already creating content. And speaking of subscription, one of my favorite places to eat when I'm traveling. Travel. Remember travel? Was Pret. If you've never tried their Caesar and bacon wrap, holy moly. I haven't tried heroin, but it can't be much better than the chicken Caesar and bacon wrap in a Pret. Over the course of the last few months, they've announced huge swathes of store closures and 3,000 job losses. A really terrifying, challenging time for the organization because in retail and in hospitality, cash is king. If you don't constantly have footfall, the tills simply can't keep going. It is really challenging and expensive for them to keep their locations open. So they came up with a really interesting idea. They looked at Spotify, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, and decided to explore a subscription model. They decided to give all of their customers a free trial of this model if they signed up. It's £20 per month and you can get 5 drinks per day. It could be a hot drink, a cold drink, anything that is steamed or blended or made out of a barista is totally free. Now, if you're a busy commuter, if you're popping out and in for meetings every single day, if you're in London, Edinburgh, Scotland, New York, or anywhere in between, this is an amazing money-saving tool because for only £20 a month, you can essentially eat, drink, and be merry as much as you like. Now, if customers fully utilize this, it'll be a huge loss to Pret. But Pret know that that's probably not going to be the case. Subscription models, like gyms, live and die on the fact that we don't use it to its maximum capacity. I've been paying Pure Gym £17 a month since 2016, and I can assure you I have never been through the door. I really should cancel it. If anyone is on the line from Pure Gym, Please do cancel it. I need that money. I would like that money. Now, a lot of you might say that, oh, well, this is a really big risk for them. This might reduce their revenue. Actually, it's been hugely successful. In the first 36 hours, they had nearly £500,000 worth of sales on this program. Now, for a business that relies on footfall, but is experiencing a depletion of that because people aren't walking past as much because many people are working from home, this is a hugely successful way to pivot. Great example of how they're reimagining the way that they are working and behaving. And since we are all working from home, it's become ever more difficult, hasn't it, for us to focus, to find discipline, to get the best of our work done. So other organizations are finding ways to think about this slightly differently. Hotels, for instance, have not been able to operate properly for the longest period of time. So to find their COVID pivot, many are starting to rent their rooms out by the hour. So if you are in a busy shared accommodation, if you've got the kids running around, if the dog is biting at your ankles, then you can take a suite in a hotel for a small fee for 2 to 4 hours to give you some headspace away from work. And yes, if you see a receipt for that, if your husband or wife is renting hotel rooms by the hour, let's just agree that it's probably they're doing it for some space from work, definitely. Entertainment industry has been hurt more than any other, I have to say, and some organizations are trying really clever and innovative ideas to make sure that their live events are still happening so that they can enjoy music, entertainment, comedy, and theater that is socially distanced but not necessarily isolated. Hotels across the world who have been empty because we're not traveling so much have started to rent out their balcony space so that we can achieve that social distancing and still enjoy entertainment and music. Some really smart ideas that are happening not only in Europe but in the United Kingdom as well. This is a really clever one. For the Spider-Man fans out there, a company that makes those little charity plastic bracelets has decided that this might be a good way to repackage, remold, regroup and redevelop a product that allows you to easily and instantly put some hand sanitizer in your hand. It means it's always there. It's attached to your wrist. Now, it's clever. It's innovative. I'm going to level with you. I think it's a bit weird. The organizations, though, who will thrive in times of change are focusing on their customers and giving back. They're trying to maintain those essential relationships. So one great example of how we can build these relationships was announced by United Airlines. They have announced that they are waiving their change fees. Not just now, but forever. Now, if you're a frequent traveler, you'll know this is a huge deal. It's a really big issue for travelers like me who in January and February, in total, I had 49 flights. I know, apologies, Greta Thunberg. I'm not proud of it, but that's what I did anyway. This is a great announcement. This is something that will keep their customers closer to them and engender a stronger and better relationship. But I happen to think that Miller Lite has done the best of all. I used to work in the hospitality industry, and when I lived in DuPont Circle, Washington, D.C., in the United States, I lived on tips. I needed them. And if a global pandemic had come in at that point, I simply wouldn't have survived. I wouldn't be able to cover my rent, my bills. I genuinely don't know what would happen. Miller Lite has decided that while the taps are off, that tips are still needed. So they've created a virtual tip jar to allow customers who know, like, and trust, love their bartender and their waitstaff to go and make a small donation that will be then distributed amongst needy bartenders and hospitality professionals. And Miller Lite started us off with $1 million donation. It's an amazing example of how thinking differently in challenging times can help you get closer to your customers, reimagine your business, and think in slightly different ways. Now, we know that change, especially in moments like this, is incredibly difficult, but it ultimately always starts with us. We must run towards these challenges with a certain amount of aggression and positivity if we're really going to rise towards the top. Now, many of you who have looked at the science of change and how it affects individuals will have seen this model before. These are the stages that your brain goes through when it is met and faced with unexpected change. The first thing is shocked. We can't believe that this is happening. Second thing, which for most of us was around March and April, we go through denial and tell ourselves, oh, this can't be as bad as it looks. Then frustration sets in and we try to tell ourselves, well, there's nothing I can do about this now. I'm totally helpless. And when that helplessness sets in, that's when we move towards the depression stage. And I use that word carefully because it really is a clinical definition for some individuals. And if you find yourself in that space, it's incredibly difficult to get out of it. But even if you don't reach that clinical depression, you still feel an extraordinary low where it's very challenging for you to achieve your best. Afterwards, we start to experiment with solutions. We decide and make a decision on one that we think is best for us, and finally end by integrating it into our reality. Now, for some individuals, this Kubler-Ross change curve only lasts about 3 weeks or 3 months. For many of us, it may last as long as 3 years. It's a really great model, but for some, it might be overcomplicated. So I want to inspire you to have meaningful conversations about this change with your team. So instead, I recommend this one shared recently by Amy Cuddy. It essentially breaks it down into 3 key psychological phases. Number 1 being the emergency. It's at this point that for us as leaders, we need to set some shared goals. We need to be clear with our team about what matters, about how we are putting them first, and we need to create a sense of urgency to make sure that we are not taking our future for granted. Then when we get to regression, we start to realize that no matter how much we respond to this emergency, no matter how much we plan, well, there is still a huge amount of unplanned, unknown, unknowables, as Rumsfeld would have put it. So this is when we start to get stressed and tired and irritable, and it can be really difficult for us to see past the weeds that we might be living in at any given moment. But the final stage is recovery. That's where the brain accepts that it cannot accept everything. It accepts that it cannot change everything, and we start to build new habits and new behaviors. I would really encourage you, as you watch this now, take a little picture of your screen, perhaps share it with a friend or colleague, and start to have conversations. Simply knowing and applying these 3 phases to everyone that you meet every day will help you improve their experience of some difficult times. So what should you do now? What should you do after this? What are the things that you should apply? Well, look, you should immediately accept that your response doesn't need to be fully formed. It's okay today that you don't know what is coming next, because all change and the response to it is evolutionary, not revolutionary. People convince themselves that, oh, well, I see other organizations coming up with clever, innovative, world-beating solutions. It's not really about that. You're only seeing the end model with them. They will have went through so many iterative steps. It's easy to convince yourself that that is beyond you, but it's not. Just take the next step. That's really all that matters. And don't worry about it being perfect. It doesn't have to be a 100% fully formed solution immediately. All that matters is that you're striving for perfection eventually, not straight away. And don't be afraid to have conversations with your team. Take the 2 models that I've shown you, the Kubler-Ross and the 3-step one mentioned by Amy Cuddy, and ask your team, where are you? And if you don't feel like you can do that, if you feel like your team aren't up for that type of conversation, then stop for a moment and ask yourself, look around and exploit some emotional intelligence. Employ those sensing skills that you as a leader will have, and ask yourself, where are they? Because if they're at a different stage, then you need to engage with them in a different way. You need to have different conversations, and they will need different support from you as a leader. But ultimately, don't worry about things being perfect. Your next step is to just take the next step. I love this phrase. I shared it with a friend a couple of months ago who eventually released a book, Caroline de Posada, a great book. You should all pick it up. But for me, our job is to just get on with things today. It's okay that we don't know what's happening in 4 weeks or 8 weeks or 12 weeks. We only need to know what's happening today and tomorrow. That is as good as our response can be. And never be afraid, even in the most difficult times, to find some fun in these dark days. Isn't that right, Father?
Well, a priest in Grosse Pointe Park is getting national attention himself for his unique approach to blessing parishioners.
St. Ambrose Church posted photos online showing Father Tim Pelk using a squirt gun to spray holy water. The method helps him maintain social distancing, a distance from his parishioners driving up to the church.
Well, the photos have led to people creating, let's say, some interesting memes on the internet.
Right? Pew, pew, pew.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea. I saw a comedian do a joke about that recently, actually. So look, thank you so much for tuning into GrowShow. Remember, we are live. I thought I was going to pre-record this episode, but turns out I had time to go live. If you want to make sure that you don't miss any episodes, click follow on LinkedIn, subscribe on YouTube, ring the bell so you get a notification, click like on Facebook. And if you would like to host a virtual event for your team, we have designed and delivered really engaging, fun and interactive learning programs for all of these organizations in the last few months. It helps grow their business, grow their team, and grow themselves. They are fun, engaging, and interactive. Here are some comments from some of our clients who have enjoyed those sessions. Hi everyone, my name is David Meade. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us during this live and interactive masterclass.
The feedback that we had is the best that I've seen for any webinar. It was the biggest audience we've ever had by far.
I haven't been to, a virtual event like it. I certainly haven't laughed as much in any virtual event.
As human beings, we live up to and down to our own expectations of our own performance. Convince yourself that you can, will, might, must, or should, and it comes out in everything that you do.
His enthusiasm, his style, it immediately engages the audience.
And I think what David really offers is he genuinely cares.
And I guarantee you will leave this session with practical and actionable tools and techniques that you'll be able to apply and employ straight away.
Engaging,
Interactive.
Full of energy.
These virtual events really can be fun while still moving the needle on your people's performance, making them engaging with plenty of learning. So look, thank you everyone for tuning into GrowShow. It is nice to see all of you here. I'm going to pick someone at random now who will win some lovely free GrowShow swag. I love giving away these things. Oh, that one really needs a clean. Sorry about that. Okay, let's choose someone at random. I'm going to look away and pick someone now. And our winner is Karen Hewitt, who was feeling lucky today. Karen, drop me a direct message on, actually, you've got my email anyway, Karen. Drop me a direct message on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and we will send you over some stuff. And I will see you back here next week for another episode of GrowShow. Hope you're well. Hope you're good. Take care. Be good. Bye-bye.